can see this, my Kawasaki Versys 650 2007. I've dropped it up, the back wheel, and I've taken out a bolt right from around here so that all the oil drips out. It's been a good time for an oil change anyways, because this bike's set in the garage for the winter. So this is going to be its first ride of the season once I'm done with the stator change. Now that we've done the oil change, essentially changed the filter and drained the oil without filling it back up, quite important because the oil would have leaked out of here if you open it up full of oil. We'll be taking this cover off, and then that's the wiring for the stator that runs through here. In order to get to the cover, we're gonna have to take this panel off. We're gonna have to take probably this cover off as well, and afterwards, once we change the stator, we're gonna take a look at the rectifier, which is located, I just want to give you a better location view of that, and it's right here, sort of underneath the seat, right where the tank ends. In that line, it's bolted on by 2 bolts, one right there, and the other one is, if you can see it, right in there. And we're gonna take that off. The rectifier is plugged right here, so we'll have to unplug it. That might be a little bit tricky, so maybe I'll just take it off first. We'll see. All right, we're gonna first remove this cover. It's plastic cover. I've already pre-loosened 3 bolts that connected. So 1, 2, 3. They're Allen keys. I'm gonna use the drill because I've already loosened them just for speed purposes, but you can just use an Allen key to take it off. You'll just see that the plastic cover was bolted into this little triangular piece. That piece is gonna go right under these 3 bolts. When you put back the stator, make sure you put this piece in, because that's going to be the piece where this bolt attaches. Aside from that, we're going to proceed and remove all these bolts. I recommend you keep them in order because they're not all the same sizes. There's a couple of longer ones, so the best is to either trace out the shape and sort of keep them there, or put them in order of some sort where you're going to know how to put them back in. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this cover off. I've already loosened up these 2 bolts to hold it. Behind, essentially, you're going to find a freewheel and a chain. It's a good time to clean it out, probably when you reveal it, because that's a hard to access area. The good thing is that these 2 bolts that I've pre-loosened are about the same size as these, so we can sort of do it all in one shot. I'll start by loosening the cover off first, and then we're gonna get to the stator cover. Once removed, just take a note of these wires and how they go. They went right behind the cover. So it's really important later on to tuck them back in the way they came in. You can see where the stator is connected, and essentially you can follow that wire all the way to right here. And that's how you're going to disconnect it. You see it? Take a note of all these wires and how they go, because they're going to be tucked right behind the freewheel here and the chain. And later on, when you put them back, you want to put them back the same way you found them, kind of thing. This is your stator connection, and it's running right through this little piece, and it's coming out here. You can also recognize it by 3 white or sometimes 3 yellow wires are coming out into the plug. So we're going to unplug that plug. It's a little simple clip-on, clip-off. You have to press a piece, a tab, and then pull it apart. Aside from that, the stator should be disconnected from the motor. So you can see that's the little tab. We've just disconnected it, and what's going to happen is you can almost just kind of pull it right out, follow it to the stator, and then leave the other wires alone. we're gonna now take off all these bolts. Remember, make a note of their position. Just to keep the track of all the bolts we're gonna remove out here. What I've done is I took a new gasket, or you can just, I guess, do it from the cover as well. And I just kind of poked little holes with my drill. And I'm gonna be placing those bolts right into the corresponding holes. This is gonna go away. And when I'm installing a new gasket, I'm just gonna have all the bolts ready in their position. I took all the bolts out of the stator cover and I've positioned them on my little improvised template, and you can see that they're not the same size. There's a couple of bigger ones, so it's important to keep them in the right position and save yourself a lot of trouble by doing that later on. Now we're going to remove this cover. It's held on by a magnet and it's going to have a bit of resistance as you remove it, and just be prepared that some of the gears might fall out depending on how they're slanted. 3 different spots where you can sort of put your fingers in to give it some pressure. Right here, see how it moves a little bit here, and I believe there's like a little spot right around here, see, where you can move the cover out of its place. So you're gonna have to hold it with both hands and just pry it off. As you pry it off, as I said, there's some gears right here that may fall out. As you can see, the stator cover is off and my gears have indeed fallen out of the place. We're going to be setting those up later on. Right away from inspecting this stator, you can see what the culprit is. It's burnt up. The stator is held on right here. This is a bolt that holds the wiring in place, and the stator coil itself is held on by 3 Allen key bolts, which we're going to remove. And of course that's the same size bolt as the other 3. And you can see the little grommet here where it's wiring is pushed through, and you have that on a new stator. So let's take this opportunity also to clean everything up. You don't want to go into the engine too much. I wouldn't necessarily recommend cleaning it up, but I will certainly clean the cover as I remove the stator. And loosened up all the bolts until it's, I believe, a 5mm Allen key is all you need for it. And I've loosened this bolt that holds the wiring in place. If you notice a little pin, there's a little groove for it. And later on, when you put it back, you're going to be able to put it in the right position. Once you have cleaned it out and you're satisfied that the edges are all clean, and you scraped it with the old gasket out, we can start putting the new stator in. And it's essentially going to be the same process. The new stator will go on here. It's going to be held on by 3 bolts, and what you have to do is this little grommet has to go in place, and that's pretty much it. We're going to sort of put it all together like that. If you see a little grommet, see the wiring coming through, these bolts will go back in and they will secure the stator. Just remember, when you're positioning, there's really no other way to do it, but there's a little pin out there and a little groove and a little pin, and when you position this back on, you need to make sure that that sort of goes together as you put it on. There's a little bit of wiring fiddling, but this is essentially Just remember to apply some thread lock onto these bolts as you position them back in. So what I'm going to do is I will take these 3 bolts, I'm going to clean them, and then I'm just going to apply a little bit of thread lock right there in that area where it catches, and it's simply so nothing comes out loose afterwards and all that. So I'm going to do that and apply it to all 3 bolts and the 4th bolt that keeps the wiring together. Okay. Right, as you can see, the new stator is in, and the gasket has been placed on the motorcycle, the new one. And what we're gonna do now is just take a little bit of that gasket sealer, and we're gonna spread it lightly on the edges of this surface, and that will help it stick better to the gasket and create a better seal. I've done that as well on the other side of the gasket, the one that's facing the motorcycle, and it just helps keep. As you can see, I've put a light film of gasket sealer, put an extra bit underneath this grommet and on top of it. It's just probably the place where the leak might happen. Aside from that, check the bolts one more time, check that the wire is tucked right back in, grommets in place, and then all we're gonna do is we're gonna position it sort of as aligned as possible with the bike, and the magnet force will just bring it together, and it's just gonna fit, and then we're gonna bolt it together. Cover back on, we're ready to put the bolts and nuts in. Now this is a really good opportunity before you actually put it all together. Just retest your stator if you have a voltmeter, and before you take this wire and you just push it in. You don't want to install something, and sometimes new things can fail as well from the very outset. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tuck the wiring back in, and I'm gonna start bolting each and every bolt following the order that I've had them. As you can see, the cover is back on. All the bolts have been placed in their right position. I'm gonna tighten them to specified torque. It's somewhere around 86, I believe, or something like that. I have to recheck it. That's your torque. Use your torque wrench to put these back together. You can see the wiring is tucked in. I haven't connected it yet, but it's a simple plug and play type of thing. I'm just gonna probably spend some time cleaning that connection before I plug it in and torquing it to the specified torque. So once you tighten these bolts to specifications, you're going to put this plastic cover in with 2 bolts that fit right into there, and we're going to tighten those bolts now. Once we're done with that, we can actually proceed and put new oil in and connect the stator. However, I think I will be replacing a rectifier as well, which is right here. And I kind of want to do both of those because that's pretty much the entire electric system in a bike. So it's nice to know that your electric system is new. Okay, and it's not that big of a deal to replace it in terms of cost. You're looking at about $100 for a rectifier, and it's 2 bolts and a plug and play type of experience. Last, of course, we're going to be positioning this right back in its slot, and it's going to be a little plastic protective cover to finish it up. The oil is topped up, and it should be ready to fire up after we replace the regulator. Although the regulator is probably okay, as I say, I like to preventively replace it once I replace the stator. In order to gain a little bit of an access to the rectifier, I've removed the seat so we can test the battery afterwards. You have to remove this one little Allen key bolt, and then this panel should be coming off. I'm just gonna take it off, and then we'll be able to access the rectifier. Now it looks like that, and just in order to gain a bit more access in there, I'm gonna take off this little plastic piece as well. You can see this gives us a lot more access to the rectifier so that we can actually go ahead and remove the two nuts and of course unplug it right there. Once you've removed these two bolts, you can pull the rectifier out. You have a little tab right there, press on it, pull, and it pops right out. This is what it looks like. It's just a little plug and play type of device. And here's the new rectifier. We're just gonna plug it in there, and once we plug it in there, you can see the little grooves where the two bolts will go through, and that's pretty much it. We're gonna put these two bolts through that and then put these back on, and we're ready to go. I have just put the cover back on. We're gonna start it. Let it prime. Seems to be working fine. It's starting, which is a good sign. And then let's see what the voltage says here. It's about 1310 idling, or 1330 because it's just started. Now that it's warmed up, it's idling at about 1290, 1280 volts. And let's see if that changes at all when we rev it up. Should be about 14. It was about 1410, and that indicates a good stator, good charging power, and I think we're done.